Another week, the final week of August has arrived. A lot goes into this week. When we think about the unofficial ending of summer, Labor Day, a week from today, especially for those who live here in the US of A, you also have a situation where Labor Day is early this year. It's not the 5th, it's not the 4th, it's the 1st. So you talk about having summer close out unofficially a lot sooner than later. Well, this is the year that it's going to happen. And with that being said, slowly but surely, the cooler weather is going to come into play depending on where you live. And Lord knows in the Northeast, not to say it's going to be 40 degrees and time to break out the hoods or hoodies, I should say. But anyway, that is looking ahead. We should be looking at right now. And let me see what this top fans thing is. Be the first on the leaderboard by showing support. Try sending a live chat or super chat. Yeah, I want to send a live chat or super chat. How do I do that, though? 1, 2, 3, I guess. Whatever it may be. All right, so with that being said, here I am just trying to do this on the fly as far as super chats and top fans and things of that nature. Hopefully they'll find me here over the course of the next half hour. Welcome to the Podcast Pregame, which I do every Monday and Thursday before I record my podcast, which goes up around between 12 and 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, talking about the latest and greatest of what's happening in the world of sports. And I know I don't even put out a bat signal or a warning. These are usually just impromptu, pop-up type of live streams, although there is a live stream this Wednesday, and every Wednesday for that matter, going back to February, where I will expound on what's happening in sports, talk about various things, talk about what's happening with the podcast, with the channel, etc. But here, I do talk about what's going to be on the podcast, of course, but even more so, whomever pops up in the room, whatever it is that they want to say, whatever that they want to get off their chest, this is their chance to do so, and I talk about whatever. It could be music, it could be real estate, it could be obviously sports, it could be life. And listen, as someone who's middle-aged, and I'm not going to say I've experienced everything in life, but I feel just enough, and if I can't answer it, or if it's certainly not my wheelhouse, I'm not going to pretend or think that I know. I'll be 100% transparent and honest about it, but what you see is what you get. And all I want to do on top of all that is to share some insight, share some wisdom, experience, knowledge, whatever it may be, on top of what's happening in sports. So that's what these podcast pre-games are. It's a little bit of everything, even though you would think that, oh, aren't you going to talk about the podcast, JAYREELZ? Well, yes, let's go right to it, or get right to it. Starting with the baseball, I'll talk Yankees, Dodgers avoiding sweeps. We're going to talk about Zach Wheeler out for the Phillies for the remainder of the year and what that means for them moving forward as they play 3 big games in New York against the Mets, who, if they're going to try to chip into that deficit, they're going to have to sweep. They can't take 2 out of 3, although 2 out of 3 is nice. You want to win series, as they've done here over Atlanta, and then 2 series prior to that against Seattle. But for the Mets, it's just trying to chip away. You can't gain 7 games in the standings in 2 or 3 days. So if they could get a sweep, and if you recall, in late April, 4 months ago, they swept the Phillies out of Citi Field. If they could do a carbon copy of that, all right, they'll still be 4 back with 4 more games to play in Philadelphia. And with them being a Jekyll and Hyde team, the Phillies, who knows? Morning's Cole, what's happening? So let's see what the Mets can do tonight. And how I look at it is that in my heart of hearts, is the division pretty much kaput in the NL East? Yes, it is. But because of the 7 games and because I can't trust the Phillies 100%, and with Zach Wheeler going down, and to me, Zach Wheeler is more of a big picture thing. The Phillies are going to make it to the playoffs. They're not going to falter here. Could they lose the division? It's unlikely. Would I be shocked? I wouldn't. And maybe there'll be a little reversal of fortune when you think about it, because if you recall, in the 2007 season, where the Mets had a 7-game lead, here's the irony, people, but there were 17 games left in the season. What happened? The Mets gagged the division away to where the Phillies overtook them on the last day after the Mets lost to the Marlins. These memories that I tell you, as I like to say over and over, the scars that are on my body when it comes to this Met team. But anyway, so we'll have that to start, recap everything that's happening in baseball. Then with the NFL, you're going to have the rosters cut to 53 as of tomorrow. There has been some player movement and maybe some possible players that could get cut here. We'll talk about that as now the NFL is, count them on two hands, 10 days away as the season will open up in Philadelphia. Then you have college football where you had the Iowa State-Kansas State game the other day. And, I mean, did anybody watch it? I'm sure if you're a college football junkie, you probably did. As a matter of fact, speaking of college football junkies, my guy, Cole, Michigan announced yesterday, Bryce Underwood, yes, starting quarterback, go blue, absolutely. So they announced him. If you could tell me, what do you think about Bryce Underwood? Give me a little insight there, Cole. I'd appreciate it because I've never seen him play. No. Oh, you did watch it. Oh. So you watched Iowa State and the Kansas State game? I know Iowa State won. It was actually a pretty crazy fourth quarter. I think what was it? It was 14-7 going into the fourth quarter. And then that's when Iowa State took over, won the game. The Cyclones, that is. And yeah, college football is underway, although we understand that this coming weekend is going to be obviously the opening weekend, and you have big games all around. Texas, Ohio State's the starter. Texas, the preseason ranked favorite, number 1 overall. And I understand the Ohio State quarterback, not too many people know about him. To me, Bryce looks like Cam Newton. Oh, really? All right, so maybe get a big year out of him this year. What do you expect Michigan to do this year, Cole? And I know you're a real fan, so it's not as if you're going to say they're going to go undefeated, they're going to be in the top 4, etc. So I definitely would love to get your take, because maybe I'll even talk about that on the podcast come Thursday. I'll do a little bit of a college football preview. I mean, it's weird. You can't even do a college football preview because you already know the likelihood of the teams that are going to be there in the long run. And you'll probably have a surprise or two along the way, just like last year when you had SMU, Indiana. Those are the two in particular that made it into the college football playoff, happened to be the first year of expansion from the 4-team playoff to 12. So we have that to look forward to. But college football, that Texas-Ohio State game is going to be huge, as we know. Then you have LSU, Florida State. And what's the third game, the nightcap? I should know this off the top of my head. I know Notre Dame, Miami's on Sunday. What is the Saturday night game? I have to look that up. College football. Yeah, so obviously with that ushering in on Saturday, everybody's going to be pumped up. I know I'll be on top of it. Saturday, I will be around. I'm trying to watch at least the Texas-Ohio State game as much as that. Weather's going to be nice. It's the final unofficial ending of summer, the weekend, we all know. But let me just pull this up real quick. I'm missing out on that Saturday game. Right, in the afternoon, the 3:30 game. Oh, it's Alabama, Florida State. Why? I got LSU mixed up. LSU is the nightcap game as they play Clemson. I said LSU, Florida State. That's my bad. Alabama is at Florida State. And then LSU, Clemson is the nightcap. And then Michigan's playing New Mexico. So, Cole, that should definitely be a 70-3 game when it's all said and done. And then Notre Dame, Miami. And then you have TCU, North Carolina. That is it's at 8 o'clock. TCU, North Carolina, obviously Bill Belichick's first game for the whole world to see as you wrap up your Labor Day weekend. And then also U.S. Open has started out in Flushing Meadow, which is the other side of the bridge for me. You already have one big shocking result as Daniil Medvedev, he is exit stage left. A little controversy regarding that match. I'll talk about that. I'll give you a preview. Men's side, we think maybe another Alcaraz Center final. Women's side, a little bit more wide open. Iga Świątek, could she carry the momentum of Wimbledon here into the final Grand Slam of the year? So I'll touch on that. A little bit in the golf. I know the FedEx Championship is nothing big for me. It's certainly big for Tommy Fleetwood, who got his first tour win there yesterday. And Fleetwood has always been a guy, bridesmaid, never the bride. But the FedEx Championship, it's not a major tournament. I understand when it comes to the points and the standings, et cetera, it's huge. But I really could care less. If it's not the Masters, the PGA, the U.S. Open, or the formerly known as the British Open, who cares? And then I know this time next month, you're going to have the Ryder Cup, which is actually not in my backyard, but again, on the other side of the bridge and a little further down the street out at Bethpage. So you'll have that next month. And then basketball is low-key right now. NHL, you have Matt Kachuk. So I got a lot cooking there with the pod. So you definitely want to tune into that. I believe in my heart if Michigan uses Bryce as a runner. You're right. Yeah, so they're going to have to pretty much play him more like Justin Fields in the Big Ten. Scares me. $10 million in prize money is pretty huge. Oh, right. With the FedEx. No, yeah, that's a big purse. But the sad part is that I understand maybe the golf fanatic, and even then I would still think that, yes, it's important when it comes to the PGA, but it's not a major tournament. To me, it's all about the majors. You know, that's like last week when Alcaraz played Sinner, it's tennis, of course, in Cincinnati, which is a big tournament. Obviously, it's not a major, and Sinner had to retire after being down 5-0 in the first set. But Alcaraz, I mean, does it count to his resume and his wins, et cetera? Of course, but it's not a major tournament. You're going to be based and graded on your majors. So, although Tommy Fleetwood, congrats, good for him, but to me, how I look at it is that it's not one that you could put the feather in the cap overall as far as your career. But if you ask Tommy Fleetwood, would you trade that for a Masters? Would you trade that for a PGA, a US Open, et cetera? I'm sure, maybe not this morning, but how about around Christmas time when he's around campfire, when he's around the fireplace having a couple of cocktails, he'd be like, yeah, I'll take one of those 4 majors. So that's just how I look at it. Just my opinion overall. And as far as Michigan, well, here's the thing about the Big Ten, Cole, as you know more than anybody. The Big Ten consists of, I understand you got to throw Oregon in there. Okay, fine. But it's you guys, Ohio State, and Penn State. And Penn State, they can't beat a big team to save their lives, as you know. So, to me, it is the Big Ten. I get it, but the competition is not as stiff. We know Michigan State is not good. Northwestern, Indiana, I get it last year, but let me see a carbon copy of that this year, and then I could really maybe look at them as a team. And even then, to me, they're a basketball school, despite the fact that their football program has improved. But, I mean, we can go on down the list. Iowa, I mean, the Big Ten, other than those top 3 teams, is nothing. They are not, in my opinion, PGA is like the big. Yeah. I can see that. And think about it, right? The big names no longer together. Yeah, because obviously you have the John Rahms of the world, the Bryson DeChambeaus, they're playing at Live. So that's the deal you have there with the golf. And as far as the college, Indiana was a 1-year. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, 100%. That's why, to me, and again, you got to throw Oregon in there too. But when you think of the Big Ten, it's you guys, Ohio State, and Penn State. And one more time, until Penn State can either beat you guys or Ohio State in a big game, to me, they're not in the same class. And I understand that James Franklin and the Nittany Lion fan and everybody in Happy Valley are going to say, oh, you know what you're talking about. You don't watch college football. Yeah, I do. What happened last year? Notre Dame in the, semifinal. I mean, listen, you could beat up on all those bad teams and pad stats and look great and so on and so forth, but until you beat a big team, whether in your conference or let's say in a playoff game. And last year, Notre Dame was their chance to beat them when it mattered. And Drew Allar with a bad interception, and obviously they were unable to finish that game. And, I mean, what more can you say? And I'm not trying to throw cold water on Penn State or their fans or their administration, et cetera, but I got to call it as I see it. That team has not delivered when the money's on the line. It just hasn't. So that's what you have there and even last year, look at the conference title game where at 35-27 against Oregon, they had a chance to get past midfield, and they were unable to do so. And people could say, oh, they were in the game. Oh, they actually had a chance. They did, but did they deliver? They did not. Even with the ball, I guess it was what? I want to say they had the ball with a little over 2 minutes to go, and then they turned it over on downs, if that's what I recall in that Big Ten championship game. So, yeah, I mean, that's Penn State. Yeah, James Franklin, you can say all they want, all the naysayers, and nobody gives us credit, and blah, 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 whatever. Beat a big team. And yeah, I'm not saying, don't give me Indiana. Let me pull up their schedule real quick. Let's have some fun with this. And the schedule's a joke too. Can we call that as we see it? All right. No, let's go back. And who does Penn State open up with? They probably open up with a cupcake. So why isn't this loading? All right, here we go. Now, Big Ten, Penn State schedule. Here's all you need to know about Penn State's schedule this year. All right, they're going to host Nevada. Oh, geez. FIU, Villanova. Now, Oregon is coming into their building. Beat Oregon. And that will be a primetime game, 7:30. Beat them. That's for starters. All right? Then you got Northwestern, Cakewalk, Iowa. Or that's at Iowa. And then you really want to put yourself in the discussion for a team to be serious as far as winning a national championship this year? At Ohio State, November 1st. That's it. Because after that, they host Indiana, at Michigan State, Nebraska, and at Rutgers. So you don't play Michigan, number one. Your schedule, and people could say, oh, well, they have Ohio State and Indiana back-to-back. Well, the Ohio State game is the one you're going to be graded on. You beat them, people are going to take you seriously. And even if you win 3-2 or 50-49, doesn't matter. So how I look at the Nittany Lions, that game, and not even the Oregon game. All right, listen, Oregon, they're at home. If they win, then you go look at this. All right, they beat a big team in their building. To go on the road to play in Columbus, if they win that game, and even then, I still maybe wouldn't even trust them come playoff time, but at least they can hang their hat on beating Ohio State in Columbus. That's it. And yes, I'll look at the Oregon game. Indiana, here's, I can already see this. They'll go to Ohio State. Yeah, I'll read your comments in a second, Cole. They'll go to Ohio State. They'll lose, maybe not badly. Let's say they lose 27-20. And with that 20, it's a backdoor touchdown late to make it look closer than what it was. Then they'll host Indiana, and they'll beat Indiana, let's say 38-17. And then everybody's going to go, oh, well, they beat Indiana. Well, what happened a week before? So let's see what happens against Oregon. They have more of a pedigree. They're about even with Penn State, I'll say, because Oregon has made it to semifinals in the past, and obviously Penn State did last year. Remember, Oregon lost to Washington. And for the Nittany Lions, if they were to beat Oregon and Indiana, but lose to Ohio State, I'm still not going to trust them. And people are talking about, and who knows where Indiana's going to be. Right now, they're ranked 20th. For all we know, they could be out of the top 25 altogether. Okay? So let's just see what's going to happen here. Those are the three games they're going to get graded on. That will be September 27th. That's just in another 4 weeks. Or 4 weeks from this coming Saturday. Then November 1st, which is the game. And then the following week, Indiana. And that's where they'll be graded. I think it's funny as hell. Every Ohio State fan's going crazy over Michigan. It's so cold. Yeah, I know. And that's typical Ohio State. I mean, I understand you guys have a big-time rivalry and you're back and forth and what have you. But yeah, I mean, you would think that the Ohio State fan, you would think that Sharon Moore was suspended for the entire year. They took away any bowl opportunity, or the next time, let's say, if they didn't qualify for the top 12, we'll just say, but they qualified for a bowl. But let's just say that the other punishment was the next time that they qualify for the top 12, they're going to get ousted. Which I understand would be tricky, but let's say if the punishment was that severe. If you're Ohio State, then I could see you wanting to rub it in a little bit more. Like, look at you guys, not only got fined, but your coach got suspended for a whole year. On top of the next time you make it into the playoff, you're not even going to be eligible. All right, you want to rub salt in the wound? Fine. But for what they got, and they're going to have a party over it? Oh, please. How to beat Ohio State, and no one is saying anything about that. Oh, wait. Oh, that's prior. Wait, hold on. In reality, the old defense coordinator is not at Penn State and publicly saying how to beat Ohio State. Oh. Well, I mean, listen. They're going to have to go out and do it. And that's the bottom line there, as you well know, Cole. First time ever this year, rematch of Big Ten championship game. Oh, so that's your prediction. Hey, listen, why not? If you have those two teams going at it for a Big Ten championship. But isn't it, hold on a second. If Ohio State and Michigan can't meet in a conference championship, because don't they break it down where, because usually they'll play the, hold on a second, let me pull this up. And this is off the top of my head. Because last year you would think it would have been Ohio State, even though Oregon, obviously Oregon was undefeated. Or did they lose one game last year? Didn't they lose to somebody last year along the way? So, yeah, no more division. Oh, so, all right, so, right. So didn't you have like an East and West similar to the SEC? Where, because I remember a few years ago when Michigan you played, did you play Northwestern in the championship game? Why am I drawing blanks here? I want to say you played either that or Iowa. Top two teams can play against each other in the championship. Oh, that's good. You see that? And this must be the first year that's happening, because last year you had Oregon and Penn State. The year before that, didn't you guys play Iowa and you beat Iowa? The year before that, who'd you guys play in the year before that? Was it Northwestern? Oh, no. No, Minnesota? I don't even think it was Minnesota. But no, it's good to know that the top two teams can play against each other. And yeah, that'd be something to have Michigan and Ohio State playing a conference championship. And right, you could potentially play 3 times if that's the case. Obviously, if both of your teams qualify for the playoff. So, college football, looking forward to it. This Saturday truly begins, and we know, of course, about the NFL. And big podcast lined up today. Lots going on as we now slowly but surely get out of this sports dead zone. And it actually has been a pretty, I won't go as far as saying interesting summer, because we've had some lulls, but it hasn't been totally dead. Had some pockets, but then now as we get to Thursday, even Wednesday's live stream, 12 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, definitely right here on YouTube, of course. So stay tuned for that. Another podcast on Thursday, another podcast pregame, Thursday, 9:30 a.m. And then this time next week, when I start the new month and the final third of the year, of course, we'll recap the college football. Obviously, a lot to sink our teeth into. We'll talk some over-under numbers with the NFL. You need a college football insider. I'm your guy. Hey, Cole, I appreciate that. You know what? Absolutely. And there may be times I may reach out to you, and I know that obviously we've exchanged emails at this point. And yeah, I know I got to get back to you. I was in discussion with the wife about the end of next month, so I'll follow up with you on that. But as far as the college football, absolutely, 100%. We could certainly banter back and forth about that, and I'll definitely pick your brain, especially Big Ten, but I'm sure you follow all the big-time conferences, the former Power Five, as they were once called. But yeah, that's what I got as far as what's happening. Oh, let's see, Michigan or Iowa. Michigan, Purdue, Michigan, Iowa again. Yeah, those are over the last few years. Yep. Yeah, it was Michigan, Purdue, yes. That's right. I do recall now. And then obviously last year was Ohio State and Oregon. Yeah, because Iowa, they're a team that's great defensively, but they can't score. They can't move the ball an inch. Iowa. That's how, I mean, it's crazy. If they had a semblance of an offense, I mean, they'd be a decent team. And the thing is, forget about it. I follow college football altogether. Oh, that's great. And that's funny. With me, being in the Northeast, you don't really have a college football team because it's not as if you have a conference or a team that you're going to rally around. You're not going to root for Syracuse. Syracuse obviously is 5 hours from where I live. So even if you're going to go way back, you want to talk Donovan McNabb in the 90s or Rob Moore, the wide receiver that was on the Jets, drafted by the Jets, and go through some of the other guys that played there. Yeah, that wasn't a team I really rooted for or rallied around. And I don't really have a college football team because of it. But over the last, I'd say easily over the last 25 years, starting 25 years ago, I slowly but surely now, and listen, I'm not a college football kook like I am for like baseball, basketball, football, all the other sports, hockey, golf, with the majors, tennis, etc. But no, I've definitely followed it a lot closely than I've ever have, especially over the last 10 years. And as long as I've been doing the podcast now, 7 years, I've been on top of it. And you'll definitely hear that on the podcast. We'll talk about it on live streams, etc. So you know I'll be all over that. 41 now, yes. No, that's great, man. Obviously, I'm sure inside out, upside down, you know your college football, which is great because it is one sport that, going back to the previous century, is, you know, deep in tradition, deep in history, etc. And it's kind of under the radar in that regard because when you think about this country and the sports that really resonate, well, I won't say really resonate, but the sports that have the deep tradition and history, it's baseball, boxing, college football, and to a lesser degree, horse racing, because think about it, the Preakness, Kentucky Derby, and the Belmont, it's been over 150 years. So you're going back to the 19th century. To the 19th century you're going back. So when you think about just the length of the tradition and the history, etc., those are the sports. I understand the NFL's been around 100 years, but they really haven't taken off since, I would say, the Super Bowl era. You know, people could go back to the 50s of Otto Graham, and they could talk about the Packer teams in the early 60s prior to the Super Bowl era. But Bio, what's up, my man? Greetings. The money aspect is killing it as well. I guess it goes for all sports. Yeah, it is. As we all know, that is a problem when it comes to sports overall. The money, the gambling, all the various platforms to watch these sports and things of that nature, although you would think it's good. I don't know if anybody watched that video that I posted the other day in the chat room. I'd be curious about how the sports fan getting priced out with all the streaming services and how much you got to pay and all that. I mean, it's killing the sports fan. But yeah, the money aspect, and we all know that it's certainly been not good for us sports fans who follow it on a day-to-day, even second-to-second basis. So, but college football definitely has deep tradition, deep history here in this country. And for those who think otherwise, you know, you got to do your math. You know, you got to go back. You're talking Notre Dame. You're talking Jim Thorpe, Newt Rockne. I mean, please, the list goes on forever. So that's what I got, people. That's what I got cooking. I know, Bio, your Dodgers salvaged that game yesterday. No, salvaged the series, I should say. And that just goes to show the heart of a champion. A couple years there, there'll be a salary cap in college sports. Yeah, I can see that. Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I can see that. I would think that would all depend on recruiting and who gets a bulk of those big-time recruits. Because we know SEC, how stacked that conference is. Until you get a team or a school that just has, let's say, out of the top 25 recruits, if they're getting like 8 of them, now I understand there's only enough scholarships that you could toss around, but we know how corrupt the NCAA is. So would you be surprised? All right, 8 is a little too high, of course. But let's just say out of the top 25, they're getting 4 of those guys. Let's say Alabama or LSU or Texas for that matter. Then that's where they're going to have to put the cap, because as it is, you're going to have a lot of these players gravitate to those big schools. And it's going to be a situation where, right, the teams, just dating back to last year, the SMUs, the Indianas, they can't compete with them as it is to begin with, but they're really not going to be able to compete when it comes to them trying to keep up with the Joneses, because the top recruit that SMU is going to get is like the 80th recruit that Alabama has overlooked. And that's the problem with college sports. You could say the same for basketball, where you're going to Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, a mid-major school, they can't compete with those blue bloods, and therefore they're the ones that get shut out. So yes, I can see that being a cap for sure. All right, let me go back here. Yeah, it was looking like a sweep, but they took care of business. Now come back to LA. Yes, and hopefully you guys will take care of Cincinnati, because obviously they're now 2 games in a loss and a game and a half behind the Mets for that final wild card. So I'm rooting for you guys big time. Of course, Michigan $20 million to beat. Of course, Ohio State $20 million to lose. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. No, good. I mean, hey, great point there, Cole. And yeah, I mean, that's college sports. It's no secret how corrupt they are, how the schools just money hand over fist. And that's why obviously once the NIL thing passed, that, these players are going to get paid. And we all know for the longest time with all of the, you can go back to the beginning of time, but obviously more recently when you look at Reggie Bush and players that obviously had gotten benefits outside, off the field, and therefore have been vilified, whether it's Pete Carroll at USC, obviously Jim Harbaugh just recently. But yeah, that's probably going to continue to go on for as long as we live. They're going to bend the rules. They're going to try not to break them, but they're going to put themselves in a position to where they're going to try to win or recruit at any cost. And yeah, I get it that Michigan's paying for it now, but to me, that's a slap on the wrist. Granted, you're not going to have your coach for a couple of games. You get it, $30 million, the whole 9, but it's not as if you're banning them for the next 5 years for any bowl consideration or playoffs, or Sharon Moore sitting out for the entire year, or whatever it may be. So, who is Nolan McLean? Nolan McLean, yes, he is the Met phenom. I don't want to say phenom, maybe too strong, but he's come up here and he's done a wonderful job. Right-hander, 24 years old, has a very good arsenal, and he won his first game against Seattle and then pitched against the Braves to where, yeah, he's right now, 2 starts in, can't get crazy, but looking like a guy who's been around the majors for, I'm not going to say 10 years, but he's certainly not a guy who's pitched 2 starts and has looked frazzled or has looked like a deer in headlights. So, yeah, he's a guy that, who knows, could he be a pivotal starter here down the stretch, which is a lot to ask for a guy who's only made 2 major league starts. But, hey, with this rotation, and as you and I have discussed, whether here or offline in emails or whatever, or through the chats on YouTube, the Mets need an infusion of some starting pitching. Even Clay Holmes won 6 innings there, Saturday night? So, and he's a guy that's locked for 5, and that's it. He's gone. So, yeah, if McLean could keep that up, and not that I'm expecting him to keep it up, but if he could just keep his team in games. I think he won 6 innings the other night, didn't he? Let me pull that up. I know in his first start he went 5 1/3, which Mets pitchers, they barely even go 5 innings. And this is when David Peterson went 8 innings last week, where he was the only guy, I think, from June 4th till, I think, Nolan McLean start last Saturday, which is almost 3 months. No Met pitcher went past 5 innings except for Dave Peterson once, and that was in July against the Orioles. Until Nolan McLean did it, which was an absolute joke. Let's go. Games Saturday. Friday night was when McLean pitched, right? All right, as I pull up his box score, McLean. Yeah, he went 7 innings. I thought he went 6. He went 7. 7 Ks, 2 runs, 4 hits, no walks. And his first start, he gave up 2 hits and 5 1/3, but he walked 4 guys but struck out 8. So, yeah, off to a very good start if you ask me. Cole, NCAA's done with their crap. There is a playoff committee that will do, yeah, absolutely. I see Mets come to Detroit. Yeah, I know. That's 3 losses for the Mets. Would I be shocked? Absolutely not. Yeah, that'll be, as a matter of fact, that's next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that could be the Mets season right there when you think about it. Because, and I'll talk more about that, especially next week on the podcast, a week from today. The Mets, they have the Phillies here for 3, and then they have the Marlins for 4 at home. After that, they go on a 10-game road trip. 3 in Detroit, 3 in Cincinnati, 4 in Philadelphia. If that's not going to be their season, I don't know what will. And especially with the Reds in the weeds there, I don't want to say they're laying in the weeds. They're pretty much right at the Mets' heels. So we'll see where the standings are next week. I would hope that they have at least a 3-game lead, because if they go into Detroit and let's say lose 2 out of 3 and get swept, and I don't know who the Reds are playing, but then after that they go to Cincinnati to play the Reds, and let's say they're tied for the final wildcard spot, and the Reds take 2 out of 3. So now they have a game lead where the Mets then have to go to Philadelphia for 4. I mean, that could be, again, a season-defining trip. So, yeah, Detroit is cooking. And we've talked about that, Cole. They've actually played very well here. So, big stretch for the Mets. And it really starts tonight when you think about it, because they play the Phillies for 3. I understand the Marlins for 4. And the Marlins could be feisty, although ever since that Yankee series, when they swept them, and they were actually at 500 at the time, since then they've been poor. I think they've won 5. I want to say they've been like 5 and 15 since. Wait, have they played that many games? 20 games? And that was what, the 3rd? Yeah, there's somewhere in that vicinity. They may be like 5 and 14, 5 and 13. Yeah, they've certainly have collapsed since then. Got down last night 6-1 and still made it a game. But they could have swept. Yeah, they actually could have swept their series, but they lost that final game. And wasn't that against Kansas City? Yes, it was. Against the Royals. So that's what I have, people. That's what I got cooking here. Obviously, I got the podcast to record, which I'll do so momentarily. Got my mic set up. Well, it's not set up just yet. I got to connect everything. I got my camera here. Just to give you a little preview. There's my Sony cam that I use, ring light. There's my audio equipment, because I do the video and audio. I do it separate. What I mean by separate, I'm not syncing this audio with the audio from the camera, from the video. That would just take forever. And that microphone actually picks up pretty well. Of course, you're the ones to attest to that, especially if you watch it on YouTube, if you watch the video podcast. But that's what I got cooking, people. Final week of August. And the unofficial ending of summer, which I'll talk about a lot here. AJ needed a pull. Jack in the 6th. Yeah. Got beat up pretty good. Well, hey, listen. Obviously, you won another series. You're that much closer to winning a division. And, I mean, you guys are going to coast. Now you're up, 11 games? And Cleveland is just, Cleveland, who was that close. What were they? I think they were maybe 5 in a loss and 6 back. Maybe, 2.5 weeks ago? And now, forget about it. They're toast. So, that's just how bad the Guardians have played here over the last 2+ weeks or so. But, that's what I got, people. Or really people meaning Cole and Bio, my 2 mainstays, my 2 diehards, which I appreciate you guys. You know that. And I got to hit you guys up offline, which I will do so, I would say probably in the next couple of days, midweek. As tomorrow is a little bit lighter for me. I know I got some editing to do. I know I talked about that vlog, which I had a rough cut. But the thing is that I had to do like my inserts and overlays that were incomplete, and they just didn't seem right. So I had to go back in the lab and redo that. So I'm going to let you guys know for sure when I'm going to have a date, and I have a deadline on that. I just can't extend these deadlines and say, it's going to be done this past Friday. And now it's going to be, no. The next date I give you, I promise you, will be a hard date and when that'll be released. I'm also in the middle of working on my shave video, my shave vlog. I don't have a date set on that, but it will be in September for sure. I'm targeting mid-September because my late September is going to be a little bit crazy, especially even into October, because I have the wife's birthday. At the end of September, I have our wedding anniversary. We have a wedding the day after our wedding anniversary. That's in early October. Obviously, the baseball playoffs. So, I got a lot cooking as we get to the end of the month and into October. Cole, 10.5 game lead. But how many in the loss? Isn't it 11 in the loss? Let me take a look at that. Tigers. No, it's 10. 10 in the loss. Cleveland under 500 now, 64-65 after yesterday, yes. Gambling things catch up to Cleveland now. Yeah, I know. No Emmanuel Clase in particular. And nothing yet on that, right? They haven't even said. I'm sure they're still doing their investigation. I would think those guys, I mean, who knows? Luis Ortiz and Clase, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with them. But yeah, it certainly is not looking good considering that they're still investigating. And obviously, the longer this sucker takes, you would think that it's not going to bode well for either one of those guys, but more so Clase, who obviously was a top closer in the sport. So we will have to pay attention to that. But you guys on your Monday, whatever it is you're going to do, I hope you have a good Monday, good start to your week. I will catch up with you guys for sure in the days to come. Read the other day, he is done, banned whenever. I would not be shocked. That's a shame. And this is the thing where he wasn't even gambling. He was just like literally throwing pitches. So if the in-game betting said that he was going to throw a ball or whatever, I throw a strike, he's throwing a ball. I mean, seriously? I don't care how much he got paid. Unless he's getting paid $100 billion. I mean, that's obviously way extreme. But let's just say he was getting paid, I don't know, $50 million. And that's, who knows? That's, if that was the case, that'd be well before taxes. But if I want to do something as stupid as that, and knowing that I'm risking my career, I better get paid. And I'm talking about paid, not just, oh, well, we'll give you $1 million or $5 million. Not to say that $5 million is anything to sneeze at, but if I'm going to throw games and one more time, put my career not only in jeopardy, but that's it, career suicide, where you can never come back again. Yeah, I'm going all out. I'm like, nah, I better get 8-figure deals and not 10 million. It's got to start at like 30. And that's it. I mean, there's no way that I'm going to risk that to play a game that I've loved growing up and I've made it to the big leagues. And then all of a sudden I'm just going to flush it down the toilet just for the sake of some stupid in-game bet. I mean, I can't make it up. Saying he was betting on his pitches. I mean, come on. That is one of the big problems in sports right now. And that's why that video I sent the link to, and even more so, the vlog that I'm doing about sports media, and there's a gambling tie into that, you will see why I understand a sports fan has mistrust, or because of all the FanDuels and the DraftKings and the MGM Grands and the Caesars Sportsbook and all that, and the in-game, the ESPN bet, yeah, it is just saturated the games. You can't avoid it if you tried, and it's terrible. It's a shame. And just like I said in the video, I'll give you a little tip. Listen, I'm not naive to think that, oh, nothing's going on, or oh, there's no fix or whatever. Obviously, you want to believe that nothing's going on, and when you see what's happening with Clase and Ortiz, it's like, oh, geez, really? This is what's happening? But I'm willing to give the players, the majority of them, the benefit of the doubt. Not to say in Clase's case, because right now it's looking very grim for him and Ortiz. But yeah, if I'm going to be wrapped up thinking that, oh, this game is fixed, that game is fixed, oh, please, the only way the game is going to be fixed is if it's 2-2 in the ninth inning and a run on first and third and the guy throws the ball from shortstop, a double play ball, and he throws it to the third row. Then I'm going to think, whoa, what's going on here? And I understand that's blatant. I get it. But, I mean, you can't be subtle. It's not a thing where they're going to try to bounce a ball to first base. Or in the NBA, they're going to shoot a three at the end of the game and it goes over the backboard. I mean, I understand the sports fan would want to look at it that way and be, oh, something's going on, as opposed to, wait a minute, this guy had 5 threes in the first 3 quarters, and then now in the fourth quarter, the guy can't throw the ball in the ocean off a boat. So I understand you could look at it from that perspective, but I tell you, even sports, they're trying to ruin stuff that we love, which I'm not going to let them do that. I think he's cooked Japanese baseball from that. Yeah, probably. It's sure going to look like that, Cole. So, all right, but let me be out of here. Cole, thank you. Bio, thank you, guys. Podcast coming at you Wednesday live stream at 12 noon p.m. Eastern, as well as the podcast pregame Thursday. You know what? I'll even start plugging it. I got to start plugging that because, so people are aware, so you can hop on board, share their thoughts, just like you have, Cole, throughout. What's your thoughts on Spencer Torkelson? Well, you know what? He's finally woken up. I will say that because Torkelson, he was a guy that was a top-ranked prospect. I believe it was like top 2 or 3 coming out. And he has not lived up to that. Now, this year he's been better. And what is he averaging now? Let me see what his numbers are before I sign off. Torkelson stats. All right, Torkelson is 2870, 243. Listen, those numbers have vastly improved over what he's done throughout the course of his career, as you well know. Yes, Bio, happy Monday. I know I'm going to sign off in a minute, but I appreciate that. Same to you as well, my man. Yeah, Torkelson, he's listen, compared to what he's done in the past, this is a big improvement, and hopefully he can just build on that. Now, you'd like the average to be a little higher, but 2870, I'm sure if somebody would have told you that at the beginning of the year, you would have signed for that in blood. Yeah. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2020. And yeah, he should be blossoming. And I will say this. I'd say maybe, well, how old is he? He's got to be what? It's like 25? In fact, tomorrow's his birthday. He'll turn 26. Look at that. So, yeah, you would only hope that this will be the year that he'll build off of into next year. And maybe if he has a big October, and once he gets into the prime of his career, the 26, 27, 28 to 32, then he'll take off. So, yeah, it's still all there for him. Yeah, defense coming along, offense. Yeah. Listen, when you're a number 1 overall pick, the expectations are through the roof. And granted, it hasn't been all coconuts and palm trees up until this year, but maybe, late bloomer. Maybe now he's getting into a sweet spot, and hopefully he takes off and becomes that superstar and that number 1 overall pick that I'm sure you were hoping that he was going to turn out to be. So, all right, guys, let me sign off. I got to start recording here. I appreciate you guys, as you well know. Hopefully I'll see you both on Wednesday, and I'll keep you abreast on anything that's happening with me. I'll keep in touch, and you know the drill. Hope you have a great day from the South Bronx, South Beach, South Beach, South Bronx, South Beach, South Central, South Pacific, all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless. Hope you have a great Monday, a great week. Enjoy this week. Enjoy this time. Stay in the moment. Don't look forward to a 3-day weekend. Don't rush these days. Don't rush, because we all know, us older folk here, and I know I may have a year or 2 on Bio, and I certainly have, 15 years on you, Cole. So, yes, enjoy this time. And we'll talk on, hopefully we'll all get together on Wednesday and chop it up then with the latest and greatest. So until then, have a great day, everybody.